imagine for a minute that you're 13 years old, maybe what you looked like and maybe who your friends were, and realize that 13 is the average age that a girl is trafficked in Tennessee. And next to the illegal drug industry, human trafficking is the fastest growing criminal operation in the world. And when someone is trafficked, their identity is stripped from them. I'm going to show you, this is my license here, and it represents my identity, who I am as not who I am as a person, but it represents some of the rights that I have as a citizen. It represents that I am who I say I am, some of the capabilities I have. But when someone is trafficked, their identity is taken from them. Instead of being a person, they're property. And instead of being able to govern their bodies as they choose, they're subject to the will of people telling them how to live, whether that's under manual labor or commercial sex. According to Torma Webster's encyclopedia, it said that trafficking is the commercial exchange of goods and illicit or improper exchange of trade. Now, trade is fine. I mean, exchanging goods is fine, but when it comes to people being sold as commodities, so we need to draw a line and say that's not okay. So human trafficking is slavery in the 21st century, and often minors and women and immigrants are enticed and they're targeted the most, but it can happen to any age range in any area of the earth. People are deceived and lured, and their rights and dignities are stripped from them. It is estimated that every 30 seconds, another person becomes a victim of human trafficking. And that's not just in third world countries, that's in the United States, and that's in Tennessee, our own state. According to End Slavery Tennessee, which is an organization committed to intervention and rehabilitation, it said that approximately 94 children are trafficked in Tennessee per month. That's 94 children per month all throughout our state. They're being smuggled and they're losing their childhoods. So this is an issue that's been festering under our noses for a long time. It destroys childhoods. It negatively affects the courses of people's lives. It causes mental and physical trauma. And it's estimated that after the first time someone's entered into trafficking, they'll live only 7 more years if they stay there. And this is a $32 billion industry, which is a low figure, preying on weak and isolated underage minorities and marginalized people. I've had a burden for this subject for about 5 years, and this is something that I want to be involved with as I grow older. So I've spent a lot of time recently researching this topic and practical ways to get involved. So what's the solution? It goes beyond just one country's problem and even an organization's span of ability to reach out. It's due to poverty and the urbanization of areas and economic instability. I believe there's a twofold answer. First of all, we need more effective legislation guided by survivors who know the process of these things, who know the harm it can cause, to provide harsher punishments and a strengthened nationwide intervention network. And then second, we need community involvement. We need ordinary, committed people who are set on intervening and raising up people, and we need an effective action plan, because without an effective action plan, people will go back into slavery. Often the physiological and psychological trauma of these events are so strong that if people don't have a realistic way to better their lives and to grow tangibly, they'll go back. And who's that helping if we're tearing down an industry and taking people out, but they're going right back in? In 2000, the Trafficking Victims Protection Act was passed, and it defined harsher punishments and repercussions for those who are involved in the coercion and smuggling of people across our state. And it works with other nations to strengthen intervention and even governmental intervention as well. And it needs continual funding. It expired this 2017 fiscal year, and so we need to keep supporting it. And then secondly, we need community action, practical people committed to ordinary hard work to stand in the gap and to love these people. Derry Smith, who's the founder and executive director at End Slavery Tennessee, said, well, maybe we can't stop injustice flooding the earth, but we can address this issue right here in our own backyards. So what can we do? Like through volunteering and donating time and even just items at safe houses and advocating in social groups and in your friend groups, and then supporting women survivors, we can stand in the gap. And we need to stand up and say, not in our city. And it takes practical and ordinary hard work and people committed to radical love for these people who don't even love themselves to resolve an issue of this magnitude. There are a lot of organizations helping, especially in Tennessee. There are organizations like the Thistle Farms and End Slavery Tennessee and the Magdalene Project, and then even internationally, Rafa House and 821, which are all even nonprofits and organizations that are intervening and raising people up. So this is a picture of some girls involved in a ministry called Rafa House, and they're in the safe house in Cambodia, and they're young and they've been hurt, but they're surrounded by people who are fierce and committed and reliable and effective in loving them and making sure they have the best possible chances to grow and to have a better life from here on out. Rebecca Stevens, who's the founder of Thistle Farms in Nashville, said, it took a broken community to get people on the streets, so it takes a community believing in radical love to bring them back. And in Nashville, because of the economic growth and because of the intersection of three main highways in our state, and then also just the tourist industry and proximity to Atlanta, we have the opportunity to become a reverse underground railroad, if you will, where people are being smuggled from freedom into slavery through our state. And this is a problem, obviously. People's rights and their bodies are being violated. They're being treated as property and smuggled all throughout the nation and the world. And they're being treated inhumanely. So if this problem doesn't faze you, just wait a few more years until the criminals become undeterred by our lack of resistance, and Nashville becomes a hot city not just for selling music and coffee, but underage sex and cheap labor. President Obama spoke at a Clinton Convention, a council advisory for human trafficking, and saying it ought to concern every community because it tears at our social fabric. It ought to concern every business because it distorts markets. It ought to concern every nation because it endangers public health and fuels violence and organized crime. I'm talking about the injustice, the outrage of human trafficking, which must be called as it is, modern slavery. So as people made aware, we need to stand in the gap. And I want to encourage you to take practical action. It's so easy to talk about things and even get an idealistic burden for something, but it's a whole other step when you actually do something that affects how you live, and when you do something that will help someone practically and tangibly. And I want to encourage you not just to speak out or to be aware of this, but to take action. So let's do it.